Hey everybody, welcome back to our weekly series of furry visual novel Let's Tries. This time we're checking out Spark Hearts, which is a game that I've been anticipating for a little while because I went to the BLFC panel about it, which turned out to be like over a year ago. That was hosted by the writer and by Nick Nocturne, the voice director, who is also Nightmind on YouTube. And then I ended up actually rooming with the writer or the creator at FWA along with Full Perp, and here we are all the way in 2025, and the game's actually, it's out. It came out. I was starting to wonder.
Long ago, the world was but an empty void until a giant spark ignited the heart of the universe.
Oh, I hit spacebar because that's often how you continue. That often counts as a continue, but it hides interface in this. Okay. Because yeah, this isn't Ren'Py, so the controls are all different. My controller didn't work either. That is Kovac, isn't it? He's in he's in Digital Circus. I think he voiced Rocky and Lackadaisy, which I just was showing people at FC.
Inside the heart of our planet Wander exists the primordial flame, the source of all life. Within each inhabitant dwells a kindling of the primordial flame. The dormant fire, as it is called, awakens when one leads a good and virtuous life. When one's life ends, their dormant fire bursts into a golden light, guiding their soul to the primordial flame, allowing it to burn ever bright, continuing this cycle of life. For those who do not lead a virtuous life, their dormant fire slumbers, never to return to the primordial flame. A kindling of the primordial flame extinguished, disrupting the cycle of life. For generations, our ancestors instilled and heeded the doctrine that one must create a world of good and virtue, not just for your own world, but also for the worlds of others. For many millennia under this guidance, Wander prospered and flourished. That was until the introduction of the moral codes. The moral codes defined a maxim of what is good and virtuous. Good and virtue became anything done to increase the overall happiness of oneself. What was to perfect a samsara of virtue sparked the planet's destruction, and virtue turned into vitriol. Interpretation of the moral codes established the basis for egoism. Many wanderers center the world around themselves rather than the words our ancestors passed down to us. Good and virtue gradually dissipated into nothing but a flickering ember. Wander withered into a wasteland as dormant fires hibernated in a cold, virtueless planet. While hope seemed all but lost, a young hero emerged from the world's waning wicks. They were known as the Traveler. With nothing but a good heart and a compass of virtue, they set off to travel a desolate world. As the travelers sojourned, they told hopeful tales of the past, of a world flourishing with hope, wonder, and virtue. Through their efforts, the travelers sparked the kindlings of Wander's people. Wanderers far and wide, with newfound flames burning golden bright, began uplifting the world with deeds of good and virtue. However, it still wasn't enough to reverse Wander's impending destruction. One tale the traveler knew told the legend of where the primordial flame rests. Above the center of Wander is where it's foretold to reside, It's been said a being of pure good and virtue can connect to the primordial flame, to connect with all of wonder. As the traveler trekked to the center of the planet, they drew upon a deep breath. With what could only be described as a trance, they linked themselves to the primordial flame and spoke words of virtue, the entire planet, their audience. For millennia, the world and its people lived good and virtuous lives. Our world went to ruin when we stopped living for the good of all, when we stopped expanding our worlds and virtues. So, shine bright, bearers of the golden flames. Extend your world to others, and others will extend theirs for yours. Go forth and lead a good and virtuous life. A virtuous life only you have the power to shape. A flash of golden, healing light embraced the globe. Of celebrations, of milestones, of birth, of death. The people mourned all that's been lost to the moral codes, vowing to restore the world by living true and virtuous lives. And just as the traveler appeared from nowhere, so too did they vanish. Many believed they were just a legend, a messenger, a second chance for the world. With a renewed kindling, the world prospered once more. And this legend, the traveler's tale, has been passed down from generation to generation to heed its cautionary lesson and to never repeat history again. I never grew tired of that tale.
So that's an interesting introduction. A lot of production value going on there because the team here is actually kind of absurd. The number of people working on this game. A lot to take in at once, but it seems like there was essentially a world where morality and goodness has an inherent value, and so people tried to define it and enforce it, and that led to the opposite, and then was essentially a Jesus figure had to come in and give the entire world a second chance and a reset, essentially, seemingly being too virtuous just on an inherent level compared to any other person, while also seemingly sacrificing themselves and preaching the word and everything, which is like, there could be other things drawn there, but it's hard not to think that there's like almost like a Christian element going on there. From how one-to-one it almost goes. It did have to say virtue a lot, just constantly, because it's talking about morality, and that's inherently sticky, as it seemed to point out itself with its own intro, how iffy it is to even try to define that stuff. But that does mean that it kind of had to use a lot of repetitive language because it couldn't say anything specific. And I'll be curious to see how a story goes that has set itself up to be about being virtuous on some inherent level and having to grapple with what that means, because you're going to have to get specific at some point, and that's going to be interesting to unpack, I think. Also, this might just be fully voice acted, which means I'm just going to be hanging out, I guess, and having a little chat every now and then, which is a very different vibe for one of these. And yeah, if a dialogue gets cut off, it's because it's just very easy to click. You're anticipating when you're supposed to click again, and the mouse finger can jump the gun sometimes.
I've always admired the traveler, and how I've always longed to be like them. Is there something you'd sacrifice to realize your dreams? For me, I'd stop nothing short of sacrificing the world. You see, my dream is to save the world. So let me let you in on a secret. Our world is dying. Being the very important person that I am, A director of sorts, if you will. I'm privy to such knowledge. With that aside, I've cast my actors and wrote the script, because in order to save the world I love, and the worlds of those I love, I must set the stage and be the one who destroys it. It's paradoxical, isn't it? Yet in many ways, it's just like the Traveler. They replaced the world with something new and flourishing. My dream is likened to nothing more than repeating history itself. I want what's best for the world, to afford the world with the promise of tomorrow. Ah, our actors are on stage. The first act is about to begin. Center stage, Maru Chikyugi. You're the one who will... No, you have to be the one who will... I'm running out of time. Perhaps this may be my last chance to realize my dreams, to be just like the Traveler. I believe in you, Maru. I believe in you, sir.
It's very noticeably the same cough every time.
Make me proud. One last time.
If you can hear me, please remember. Whoa, hello. Hello. So this is like a Danganronpa thing?
Did you say something?
I think that's a thing that Danganronpa does, is spinning around with the oh, my mouse moves it. All those chairs are in 3D. That's trippy.
Nope. Just standing here, all quiet and awkward like.
Guess it was just me then. I'm probably just hearing things.
You don't look too hot.
Just nervous. That's all.
When it's not voiced, does that mean it's a thought and not dialogue? Because I could almost interpret that line as both, but I don't think it was written differently to indicate that it was a thought versus dialogue, like it was still in quotes, but it wasn't voiced. Nervous doesn't begin to describe how I'm feeling. Okay, so these are supposed to be thoughts, and I guess it's indicated by maybe the camera zooming in, but the text doesn't like... I feel like the text should almost be like a different color. Or, oh, maybe it's... I guess it's italics? What am I even doing here?
I know I shouldn't be, though.
Yeah, I guess it is italics.
I mean, it's pretty overwhelming, right? I mean, after all, starting today, our whole lives are gonna change.
Welcome, 25th cohort, to the National Historian Program.
Yep, that's Nightmind.
I'm Ransom Blacksmere, the new headmaster of the institution. First and foremost, I'd like to congratulate you. Being selected to be part of the National Historian Program, the most prestigious educational program in the world, is no small feat.
The most elite members of the workforce and academia are among us. Individuals who are the epitome of good and virtue. It's humbling, really. Because I wonder what I've done to end up here. To lead the world and guide its virtues. It was just yesterday that I left home to be part of this program. Now we're back there, framing device within a framing device. Goodbye, Auntie Elaine. So this is voice. So this is not thoughts, but is okay. So maybe it's a partially voice. I'm still trying to feel out how much the voicing is, because some games just voice early lines from characters to introduce them, and then it becomes text. Goodbye, Uncle Stu. Oh. MC main character. Maru. Uh-huh. Goodbye, MC. Won't be the same without you, Sonny. Don't forget to call. And don't forget to eat. You always forget to eat. Make sure you drink water and get enough sleep. Take it from me and don't follow in my footsteps when I was in college. Or me. We were both at all the parties. We probably don't need to worry. We probably don't need to worry about that too much, hon. This guy's a loser. Good old MC would never be partying because he's always too busy helping others out. Which there's no opportunities to do at parties. No one ever needs help there. Or he's in his house unit playing those, what do you call them, video novels? Visual novels. Visual novels. Because of what you see them with your eyes, right? Like every novel? Is that why they're called that? And what was that cartoon you like from a faraway land? Anime? Anime. It's a genre of animation, not just one cartoon. Oh, good. I was a little worried you were just watching the same movie every day. I don't watch anime every day. It was nice knowing they knew my hobbies, though during that moment, it was really flustering. Oh, and one last thing. What is it? Make sure you wear clean underwear. Come on, you two, you're embarrassing me. This would be my first time away from home, from the home I grew up and lived my entire life in. I've never had to say farewell before. So, I kind of awkwardly stood there, delaying the inevitable. In the media I've consumed, these goodbyes were often filled with gut-wrenching and heartfelt sayings. All I felt then was stillness. Like a snapshot of time that I'd remember for as long as I live. Well, this is it. I'll come by as often as I can, okay? Don't worry about us. Plus, who knows how hard it'll be to come back here once you're gone. We'll be fine. Besides, you've already taken such good care of us. That's what I'm worried about. Will you two really be okay without me? I assure you we will. Right, dear? Yes, you've given us so much. Now's the time for you to live for yourself. Yeah, you tell him, hun. You can't live without expanding your horizons. There comes a point where you gotta create your own world. My world is here with my wonderful wife. Auntie Elaine smiles and holds Uncle Stu's hand. You two didn't used to live here, right? Those are days past, I'm afraid. But I'd say our lives here are much better. Yep, I agree. Though you'll be leaving us for now, our worlds will still be connected. We'll always be here for you, MC. But only come back when you want to, not because you feel obligated. Thank you, and I will. They let go of each other's hands to give me a loving embrace. So, I guess this is goodbye for now. I definitely said that wrong. This is definitely the wrong person. So I guess this is goodbye for now. Goodbye, MC. Bye, MC. I waved goodbye with a smile on my face, and they waved back. When I turned around, I didn't turn back again. I heard it was bad luck to do that when saying farewells. I was being escorted to the front now by some agents from the capital. It was their job to make sure I made it to the capital. Every now and then we'd be stopped by someone I knew.
Sad day. I'll miss having you around.
I'll miss you too.
Please visit me when you have a chance.
I'll visit. I promise.
You were such a big help around here.
It was no problem at all.
It all felt bittersweet. Though now that I think about it, there were some people who weren't as pleasant. As I was heading toward the security gates, I overheard a conversation. The air was faint with the rancid stench of smoke.
I can't believe he accepted.
Who are you talking about?
You know, the one getting out of this place.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you had a ticket out of here.
I think I would turn this down a bit so we can hear the voice acting better.
Wouldn't you want out?
I don't know anymore. It's not the worst here.
Man, you just got used to it.
Does he really think he can make a difference?
All that yammering about smiles and happiness and shit. A world without suffering. Like life's a fairy tale.
Are they high?
Gets fucking old, right? We're all just means of production.
That's why we're here now, right? Don't want to work. Don't want to produce. You ain't worth a shit.
They didn't used to be like this. In fact, I'd say we were all close.
Oh, it's you. Good luck out there. University Astoria, right?
Oh, yeah.
We studied there. Remember that, Ed?
Got our degrees, got good jobs. We played the game for years. Now, we're here.
At least we went out with a bang, right? All it took was a sophisticated phishing email and social engineering attack.
Too bad we lost all those classified documents. Nobody's gonna believe us without them. Still can't get over how the former headmaster kept their passwords on a plain text file.
She was a moron.
Should we be saying all this shit next to those guys?
We're already in the world's largest solitary confinement. What more are they gonna do?
You got a point.
Anyway, you'll be in the National Historian Program.
That's right.
Congratulations.
Oh my god. I would not keep talking to people that are doing this.
You better work your tail off, else you're just gonna end up back here.
Word of advice, kid. On the surface, that virtue you seek is not really how the world works.
Don't let the world break you like it broke us.
Despite slurring and stumbling through the conversation earlier, these words were pronounced and poignant. They both laughed as the agents ushered me along the
None
path.
of what they said was true, right?
I don't know, they were like, don't break the world, don't let the world break you like it broke us. It's kind of an admittance that they were... It feels almost like admitting their entire worldview is wrong on some level, like there's something that they're inherently coming from a flawed place. Their words rang in my head as I ground myself back in the present. What is the virtue I seek? This virtue of mine that will guide the world?
We as historians, or in your case, future historians, exist to preserve the world and guide its virtues.
The headmaster presses something on his podium.
In a way, the world and its people are symbiotic. The people of the world must live good and virtuous lives so that their golden flames will be lit, allowing the cycle of life to continue to flourish on wonder. However, good and virtue are not static concepts. No, they're ever-changing. That's why the University Historia, the university we all stand in today, was built.
Morality is constantly in flux, like the card system in Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. Murder's actually fine on Fridays.
Originally conceived to educate virtuous future generations, it ultimately led to the formation of the Historian Society. Before this, we referred to society as the Old World. The Historian Society established a network of leaders whose mission is to develop a better, more virtuous world. To do that, they turned to history and declared the following tenet: to not allow history to repeat itself as told by the traveler's tale. The National Historian Program was instituted in order to continue this tradition. Every 4 years, a group of 6 students are selected to be in the program. After those 4 years, they are inducted into the Historian Society, joining the ranks as full-fledged historians. Let's keep today light, shall we? Why don't we start with some introductions? I'd like for you all to go around the room and meet your fellow cohort.
That guy's got a skull face. One of these sprites is more finalized than the other ones. Deep breaths. You got this. It's not like they're all shining pillars of the future who have done so much good for the world. What have I done to deserve to be here? Alright, I should talk to everyone. Nope, that's a thing you do. These names. Ransom Plaxmere. Foster Salvatore, probably. I don't know. Lynn Luciano. Bishop Grant. Silas Zephyr. And Sigmund Popwell. I approached the Tanuki who was typing on his phone. Compared to his hand, it looks comically small. Every couple of seconds, a steady stream of notifications rang from his phone.
Are you busy?
Isn't it rings? Isn't this present tense?
Ah, yes. No, lad, it's pretty calm compared to other days.
Calm? That phone is vibrating nonstop.
Is that a phone I hear?
Ugh.
No personal electronic devices are allowed during class sessions. You, of all people, should know about confidentiality, right, Sigmund? If you have an urgent matter to attend to, please step outside.
I'm sorry, Headmaster. It won't happen again.
You, of all people, I wonder what that's setting up. Sigmund's hands type away as he maintains eye contact with the headmaster. Impressive.
Hope you could excuse me for that. Bad habit of mine. Always glued to my phone. Anyway, allow me to introduce myself. I'm Sigmund Popwell. I'm the Chief Engineer of Anima Medical Devices. I supervise the design and development of major medical devices.
Oh, the hospital back home. I mean, where I just moved from, uses Anima Medical Devices.
Well, I'm not surprised. All major health systems utilize our devices.
So, hold on. How are you going to manage a job and the program?
Oh, caffeine, late nights. Oh, and time management, of course.
He chuckles.
That was a joke, of course. Stimulants like caffeine are so hard to come by these days. How I long for a nice brewed pot of coffee. Just like the old days with my wife. Nothing's the same anymore.
Wait, is coffee regulated here?
But, back to your inquiry.
Oh, so that was news to us.
You ought to know the importance of this program. My higher-ups wanted me to cut my hours. Become part-time, they said. That's how important it is for me to be here. But I couldn't possibly fathom that.
Why not? You seem inundated with all those messages.
To the average onlooker, yes. So many people depend on my work as a medical engineer. And so many people depend on historians to pave a path for a brighter future. Even if I can save one fire from being extinguished prematurely. So nobody has to go through what happened to my...
A distant wistfulness shades his unrested eyes.
If I can let one fire burn longer, then it makes all my sacrifices worthwhile.
Your sacrifices?
What do you mean by...
Oh, if you'll please excuse me. I've got to respond to these messages.
But the headmaster said...
Cover me, will you?
What?
How? You're much bigger than I am. After the briefest of moments, Headmaster locks eyes with me before directing his gaze towards Sigmund. I walk in front of Sigmund, trying to cover him up, but end up only attracting more attention.
Sigmund, do not make me confiscate your phone.
I'm very sorry. That's the last time I'll use it in class.
Thank you. It appears that I've caught everyone's attention. I do not want to have to confiscate everyone's devices prior to class. We're much too mature for that. Please shut off and put away your devices while class is in session. That is all.
But what if...
He's really intimidating, isn't he?
What if the phone use is in some way virtuous and necessary?
Yeah, I don't want to ever upset him.
Oh, I wouldn't worry about it. He seems all bark to me.
I hope so.
Also, why didn't you cover me?
How could I have possibly covered you?
You could have made yourself big and tall like a tree.
What does that even mean?
You just... you know...
He balances on one leg, arms raised up, hands pointing straight up like the top of a tree. I think he's talking because he's a tanuki, so he can transform, right? I assume we're keeping that in.
Well, like this.
Even if I did that, I feel like I'd bring even more attention to us.
You're probably right. Either way, it's all water under the bridge now. I gotta go respond to these messages.
But wait, didn't the headmaster say...
And with that, the phone in hand, he begins typing away.
Oh, it's nice to meet you.
to not use your phone?
He's extremely fixated. I will say there's a temptation to introduce every character in this kind of way, but it often does feel better to introduce characters via scenes where they're more naturally brought up one by one, as opposed to just kind of brute forcing it all at once. I think that's a rough instinct to have. There's also instincts tied to like having a story set in a school of some kind is always a little dangerous, because it sets up a lot of chances just to dump a lot of exposition in the form of lectures and things, which is in some ways a rough way to tell a story. So we'll see how this plays out. There's a feline I briefly spoke with earlier. It's kind of easy to spot, you know, with him being spotted and whatnot. He's wearing like, oh, his jacket's open. I was looking at the arm and stuff because of the spots. And I'm like, hang on a minute. Does he have a half jacket somehow? Does it spawn from the back of his jacket? Like, I didn't notice at first that it was hanging down. Probably shouldn't say that around him. Before I could greet him, he waved at me.
Hey again. So, I guess this is where I introduce myself or something. The name's Silas Zephyr. And before you ask, I'm a genet, not a feline.
Noted.
What's a genet?
What can I say about myself?
Can I Google genet? A genet is of genus Genetta, 17 small African carnivorans. Yeah. Just funny little creatures. They remind me of that one really cool thingy. What's it called? From that one inked comic that I think is gone now or whatever. A fossa. What is a fossa? If I look up a fossa, will it turn out to be a member of Genet? It's from Madagascar, so it's already a bad sign for it being tied to an African animal. Genus Cryptoprocta, which for all I know might only be fossas. It literally just contains fossas and giant fossas. Alright, so I'm on a different planet, basically. Fossas are really cool. Note to self to put a fossa in a future VN. No one has done a fossa forever.
I really suck at talking about myself. So can you ask me something?
Oh, sure. What do you do?
Throwing me an easy one first, huh? For starters, you're looking at the up-and-coming star of Fleetworks.
What?
The Fleetworks. You know, the biggest pastime of the capital?
Afraid not.
I've got a question for you then. Where are you from?
Well,
Should I tell him where I'm from? How will he react? How will the others react? I mean, sooner or later they'll find out.
It doesn't matter where you're from. You ended up in this program here today, didn't you?
Yes, that's right.
Phew.
So what's Fleetworks?
So they're like in a high council of people that are gonna dictate virtue, but he thinks he'll be judged for where he's from. We have some defining to do about what these words mean to people and so on.
Oh, right. So, in Fleetworks, you basically need to get from point A to point B.
That awfully sounds a lot like walking.
Well, it's not, rookie. It's not just about getting to the destination, it's about how you get there.
Like, by bus, by train, by plane?
No. Locomotives are not involved. All by foot and hands. Sometimes your face, if you trip and eat shit. Most importantly, though, your noggin. See, in Fleetworks, you need to be creative about getting to your destination. It's never a straight path.
Creative ways, huh? So, like tricks and stuff?
Now you're getting it.
It almost sounds like they're trying really hard not to say parkour.
Wall running, somersaults, climbing, you name it.
Uh-huh.
There's nothing like it when your movement isn't restricted.
That does sound nice. There's a lot of freedom now that I didn't have before.
That's the abridged version of it, though. Maybe next time I can just show you.
Oh, sure. I'd like that.
Great. I'll be looking forward to it then.
Me too.
I'll catch you around then.
What do you actually do at Fleetworks, though? Like, how is it a thing that you, like, identify as primarily? I guess the last guy primed me to think that the last guy sounds like a CEO or something, practically. So this guy, I was like, yes, Fleetworks. We're really importantly in charge of the thing, you know, 'cause it's so important. Because you expect this to be like an elite council. You're primed a little bit by the fact that it does the Danganronpa spinning perspective thing. And in that one, everyone's like an elite student, like, I'm the superstar guy of this thing and stuff. So it's like, okay, is he just good at parkour though? Is that like in a way that like doesn't amount to what does it accomplish being good at parkour? Why do people care beyond liking viral videos of American Urban Ninja or whatever? Was that the one? Oh God, sorry. Flashback to like 2006. I think it was called Urban Ninja. The guy doing all the parkour and flips and everything, and it's set to like a Rise Against song. Like one of the earliest viral YouTube videos. I went back way too often, honestly. I still don't have the faintest clue what he's describing. Honestly, it sounds extremely hard and dangerous. Back home, part of me just wanted to travel the world and see the places I could only see on the internet. No longer have boundaries. I guess that's what Fleetwork is like. I've never had that before until now. I don't know, parkour's not a very effective form of travel. It's just style points. You're Tony Hawking it. Like Tony Hawking the video gaming it. 2-minute trial. What crazy combo can you pull? Damn, I'm upstairs now. It's not like a train. Unless it's also a train. But then he definitely explained it strangely. If there was anyone in this room that I've been intrigued by, it's him. Take that, everyone else. You don't even have skull faces. Is it a skull face or a skull mask? It looks like a mask because he's got fur-colored eye space in here. So he just likes to wear a mask. Is it even a skull mask or just a mask? Yeah. I'm sure he gets that a lot, especially with that mask. I wonder whether or not he's allowed to wear it. But the others don't seem to mind. I guess if the headmaster doesn't have anything to say about it, I shouldn't worry. As I approach him, I notice very curiously that he's shuffling some flashcards. Is he studying for something? As he shuffled through cards, an envelope fell on the floor. Out of courtesy, I picked up the envelope that fell on the floor. I noticed it's addressed to the initials H.E.
You dropped this.
He swipes it away from my hands.
Hello. How are you doing?
Sorry. I wasn't quite listening.
He puts the envelope away in a notebook. It sticks out, kind of like a bookmark.
Could you please repeat yourself?
I said hello. How are you?
I'm alright. I'm sorry. Did I speak out of turn?
No, you didn't.
He retreated a bit and sank his face into his flashcards.
Yes, it is proper etiquette to introduce oneself when meeting for the first time. You knew that. Come on.
He put his flashcards away and stood rather tall.
Hello. I'm Bishop Grant. He, they, please. I'm a historian-level laureate.
There's a marked shift in the way they speak. Hold on a second. A historian-level laureate? That's the highest honor to achieve as a writer.
Bishop Grant?
Yes?
I'm just trying to jog my memory of all the historian-level laureates I know.
I'm sure you know the classics.
They go on to list out a few names I recognize.
Harold Eden.
What was that?
Nothing.
I've heard most of those names before, but not yours.
Where is it? I know I have a card for this type of situation. Here it is. That's because I have published under a pen name.
A pen name?
Yes. I don't use my real name when I publish my writing.
So, what are you known for?
Again, they look through some cards.
I can't find the card for this situation. He's been waiting for a response for way too long now.
Are they alright?
Let me just go back to my introduction. These are the cards. Anyway, what I hope to do is spark a new generation of golden flames to those who listen to my words. And that's the last thing I have to say during an introduction, according to my cards.
Maybe make a cheat sheet for this that you memorize for your introduction. Hi, this is my name and this is what I do. I'm sure there might be a better system for this than a large series of cards you have to shuffle through.
That's all from me. It was nice to meet you, friend.
Hey, wait!
Do they have a deck of those flashcards handy? Yes, that was the main thing we learned.
Hey. What?
Oop. Oh. I quickly glanced at the sketchbook that she was drawing and hello.
Don't sneak up on me like that, nosy.
Sorry, I was just curious.
Art is such a personal form of expression. You lay your soul bare onto the canvas, your hand ejaculating your inner sanctum into existence.
Oh.
Such knowledge can't be trusted with just anyone.
That could have probably been phrased better. Then again, I never thought about art in that way.
Anyway, what's your name?
Art is like when you onto your iPad.
Pity, you don't know who I am. Par for the course, for I'm no chief engineer or super jock.
She looks elsewhere, and my eyes follow her. I see a sporty-looking Janet and Snooky conversing with each other.
So, allow my grace to presence you.
Shouldn't that be the other way around?
I'm Porcelain Luciano, curator, art educator, and part-time web developer for the University Historia Museum and Archives.
Her name change? It was Lynn, right? Porcelain Lynn? Okay. I count with my fingers, saying to myself the roles she's fulfilling.
That's like 3 different jobs.
Oh, there's still one more. I'm also an artiste.
Kind of fitting, because your name's a type of ceramic.
And like the ceramic, I'm also an art form.
What?
I knew you wouldn't understand. Anyway, I usually just go by Lynn.
I wonder why some lines almost sound echoey? Something about the recording sounds different every now and then. It was happening mostly with the first guy. She looks me up and down, examining me carefully with her hand around her chin.
You look a bit uncultured. Tell me, have you ever been to a museum?
Say that again?
You look a bit uncultured.
I meant in a less standoffish way.
My! No need to get so defensive.
Well, to answer your question then, where I have lived, we didn't have the luxury of a museum.
Color me unsurprised. What hellscape doesn't have a museum?
Is she like this all the time?
Back where I used to call home, there were long hallways of housing units. Most people would draw and paint and adorn the hallways with their art.
She clutches her sketchbook against her chest.
Art? For art's sake? Art not meant for consumption? Not made for grander meanings other than to create?
Shoot, did I say something wrong? Does all art need to have some sort of meaning?
That's actually very nice.
Perhaps it's our very blunt first impression. I hear the genuinity of those last words.
Wait, you said long hallways and housing units? Oh, so then you're from...
She gasps and I look away rather ashamedly. After a brief moment, she looks unsure whether she wants to finish her thought.
Sorry, I made some tasteless assumptions.
It's all right. You know, just because I haven't been to a museum doesn't mean I'm not into art. There's some art styles I particularly like.
Do tell. I love art of all sorts. And you
Bara?
better not say anthropomorphic art.
What does that mean? What does that mean in this context?
Anthropomorphic art? Like humans?
Yes. So do not disappoint me.
How would I disappoint you?
Trust me, you already have.
Just when I thought she was going to be pleasant.
Maybe I shouldn't tell you then.
Must be anthro art then.
Fine. I'll bite. I tend to lean towards anime and kimono.
Gay. Suddenly she becomes quiet, bites her lip, then clutches her sketchbook. Is she blushing?
So you dabble in that.
The thing she was drawing.
Some would call kimono art rather derivative. I can see why, because the masses tend to see comics as low art. But you said anime?
I disappointed you, didn't I?
No. Shocked is more accurate.
Guess that's better than being disappointed.
She sighs, then adjusts her beret.
Anyway, let's table that discussion for later. We need at least a level 5 social link before we can initiate that conversation.
Social link?
Is that a term used in the capital?
You don't know about
Persona?
Never mind. There's a time and place for references.
But you already made it. You can't lampshade it now. I don't even play Persona. I've never made a social link in any of the games. I don't think I made it far enough. I played like the first hour of 4 and 5. She adjusts her beret and hair.
You know, we'll get along.
She sighs and takes a deep breath.
Will you think differently of me if I told you?
Depends on what it is.
You see, I study the art and culture of the old world.
The old world? She must mean...
The world before the Historian Society?
There wasn't a lot of information about the old world in the library at home. Most of the records compare its primitivity to the Historian Society.
From what I know, most people from the old world only did good for their own interests. Today, we have the Historian Society that guides us.
Yep, you're not as uncultured as I thought. It's a controversial subject to bring up.
I've always wondered if there are still people alive that remember a time before the Historian Society.
There are. My grandma, for example.
Really? Has she told you anything about it?
She's shown me books about a culture predating the Historian Society.
Culture predating the Historian Society?
Most people don't know about it since history is constantly erased. Learning about the past will reveal a lot about the world we live in. Maybe break barriers on what it really means to be good and virtuous. It was nice talking to you, though. I'm going to draw some more.
I promise not to be nosy next time.
So society was reset by a group called the Historian Society, and it kind of sounds like they're actively erasing history, which is ironic given the name, but is kind of upsetting to think about because it immediately gives you like 1984 vibes about like their sense of control. I'm not entirely clear, I don't remember exactly everything about the info dump intro, but it kind of sounded like because I don't remember how long it's been. I mean, but it sounded like the grandma might have survived since before then, or at the very least, Maru wondered whether or not anybody still remembers back then, which implies people could still be alive since then. So it's like that implies it's a very recent reset for society, and everyone just sort of had to like snap and accept this new way of organizing everything. Was the world that much different before the Historian Society was established? I wonder what kind of virtue was lost during those times. From afar, I notice the rabbit is brushing his fur rather meticulously. As I approach him, he skittishly put away his brush and adjusted his vest. I think puts and adjusts, right? We're kind of like randomly going into past tense.
Salutations! My name is Foster Salvatore. I'm a case manager here at University Historia. Prior to this, I was merely a volunteer.
Okay, that's definitely Rocky from Lackadaisy, right?
That isn't to say I'm not anymore. I still volunteer every single day. That I do. Life works in wondrous ways, don't you agree? Why, I'm still in utter disbelief that I'm standing amongst the greatest of the greatest. It's quite an honor to meet another fellow historian-to-be. You must tell me all your amazing accomplishments. I'm so very eager to hear about them.
Well,
How wonderful! And I'm positively positive being in this program will be me closer to my ultimate goal.
He's rather spirited. I can barely keep up with this conversation.
Pardon the intrusion, however. You look quite distracted. It's as if you heard a ghost or something.
Maybe I did earlier.
Yeah. Sorry.
Maintaining an orderly sleep schedule would do the trick. I follow a rather strict routine. Lights out at 8 p.m. for me. I'm ready to rise by 4 a.m. feeling refreshed. That's 8 hours, no more, no less.
I don't think I really follow one. I have a hard time sleeping most nights.
Personally, I must keep myself in tip-top shape to volunteer. And that means having a regular sleep schedule.
Ah, right, he's a volunteer. Maybe we should ask him about his time as a volunteer. A nice change of topic might get him off my case. Whoa, options. What's your favorite memory of volunteering?
So, what's your favorite memory of volunteering?
I've impacted so many lives, it'd be hard to just choose one.
Then how about one that made the most impact?
Quite simply, developing a food security program for my little brother's school system.
That's volunteer work?
Not to brag, but it's because I managed to develop it on my own. Though, I cannot take the credit for funding. I was ready to give up my life savings from volunteering, but unfortunately it was far from enough.
That's right, volunteers in the capital are paid. Paid volunteers. Back home, lots of people would find volunteering a fool's errand. But I still volunteered to help everyone I could.
However, I was able to secure several million credits in funding.
You did all that? On your own? I'm speechless.
I believe you're still talking.
It's a figure of speech.
What do you like about volunteering?
So, what do you like about volunteering?
To put it frankly, everything. Seeing others flourish because I'm able to give something to those who aren't as privileged, why, that gives me so much joy knowing how I can affect lives that way.
It's kind of why we're in the National Historian Program in the first place, right? We want to advance the world and make it better for all. That's pretty similar to what you've already been doing.
Yes, when you put it that way, it does seem so.
I'm reminded a little bit about myself as I talk to Foster. I've always enjoyed helping others back home, but the level he's impacted the world is far greater than mine. He looks away nervously and twiddles his thumbs and clears his throat.
Do you have an ultimate goal?
An ultimate goal?
Let me tell you about mine, kind sir. Ever since I was a young child, I've been volunteering. It was something my parents had me do as much as possible.
Your parents must have...
Please do not interrupt me while I'm talking.
For a moment, the room went quiet, all eyes on us. Then the chatter resumed.
My apologies. That was most distasteful. I shouldn't have exploded at you like that. Yes. Back to my ultimate goal.
He's extremely high-strung and also probably not particularly altruistic. It sounds like his obsession with this stuff might be self-serving.
Volunteering so early in my life made me realize there's so much more work to do and so many lives to take care of.
He frankly kind of sounds like he's gonna be he's almost setting up to be like a villain or antagonist or rival in the story, and kind of sounds like an example of the previous society's thing where people were doing good deeds for self-serving reasons.
When I wasn't volunteering, I was taking care of my family. I cooked, cleaned, and most importantly, looked after my younger brother, Felix.
Family, huh? He must have loved them a lot to be doing all that.
Do you ever just do anything for yourself?
Suddenly he clasps his hands with mine, looking directly at me with glowing eyes. Huh?
This is what I believe. To truly be good and virtuous, and to achieve my ultimate goal, I must give every ounce of myself to the people. Kindness and altruism will light the golden flames of all. I hope that answers your question, albeit in a very roundabout way. I'll be off for now. It was nice meeting you.
I find myself clinging onto that last thing he said. Giving every bit of yourself to others? He's in this program, so he must know what he's doing. I don't know, you seem to not think you know what you're doing. Okay, so we're an hour in. I'm gonna click on this guy to not avoid it, but this is around the point where we normally stop, and so one of the main things I judge during these videos is just the game's hook, essentially, because it's basically the only thing I can judge in an hour is like, hey, I played the very beginning of it. How much sticking power does it have? Like, does the narrative draw people in? And I can't speak for everyone, obviously. And sometimes people are like, yeah, character designs. I love character designs. I saw a bunch of character designs that I liked, so I'm going to keep playing the game. But narratively, I do feel like I should point out that, like, nothing has happened at all for an entire hour at the beginning of the story. And that is a little rough if you are somebody who wants, like, a premise or a narrative hook or stakes or anything to like draw you in besides a bunch of colorful anime characters. Essentially, we had like a lore dump about the setting, and we had a flashback that basically established that we did in fact go to the school that we are going to school at, which we knew because we're at school. So the primary indicator there was just the fact that there was the primary thing we learned there was just the sort of delinquent type characters that indicate clashing perspectives and so on. But like the bulk of the experience has been taken up by just introducing a series of characters, but in a brute force sort of way of just putting them in a room and having you just spend as much time as possible just being introduced to each one. But also, like, it's not super effective on that level because you're not learning that much about each character necessarily. You're getting a brief tease with each one, but there's so many of them that it's taking a very long time to go through them all. So it's like it's a bit of a weird vibe where it's like the way, like, we're not learning that much, but we're spending a lot of time not learning that much. And it's like the kind of, you could have incorporated most of these things into existing scenes to establish the stuff like that. Oh, that's the guy that just won't stop texting and keeps having to be called upon by the professor. And this is the guy, yo, bro, you should check out our parkour club sometime. And then that one guy that doesn't want to talk to you, and like these could all be incorporated into a scene instead of just being like now talk to each one of these people one by one in a way where it's like very start and stop and not integrated into anything. And it's always potentially my personal taste, but I always think that, like, I just feel like something should happen. I just always feel like in the first hour, something should really, really happen at some point. And that should be like the thing that really gets people interested. And you can put character introductions before and after that, or incorporate them, or like have them be a part of how the scenes are playing out to be more interesting on that level. Because the way that I see it is that, like, there's two primary pitfalls that furry visual novels fall into with their introductions. One is all the ones where you wake up in the bed of a wolf and you have amnesia, or you're wounded and the wolf is taking care of you, and you just getting through that opening scene of being wounded and laying in the wolf's bed takes the entire, like, first hour up, and you don't even get to leave the room. And then the other one is the games that introduce every single character in the cast one by one, like chord progressions and so on, where you're like, okay, this is probably more characters than we needed to introduce at the beginning of the story. Like, you could focus on different characters each day, or like sort of like sprinkle them throughout instead of front loading it this much, because I can't even say that there's like, I can't even say it interrupts the pacing. We haven't had a chance to introduce pacing. Like, nothing, we're still trying to start the game. And that, for people like me at least, that kind of makes me bounce off in a way akin to like when I played, like, I think like Star Ocean The Last Hope was a JRPG that had like an hour of tutorials to go through menu by menu, and by the time I got through all of them, I ended up not playing the video game ever, and I still don't know what that game is or what it's about, because I played an hour of combat tutorials and then put it down. Hello, Ransom. As I approached the headmaster, his attention was on shuffling the stacks of papers on his desk. I noticed a folder on the podium. Written in big red uppercase letters are classified, and the name Mansour Exemplar. Historian Emeritus Mansour Exemplar. Hello? He is the highest ranking official in Historian Society. As Historian Emeritus, he's contributed so much to the development of society's good and virtues. Prior to this, he was also a student in the National Historian Program. His crowning achievement, the development of the subsector. Humans. I was like, hang on a minute. The place I used to call home. Effectively abolished poverty. Without him, I probably wouldn't be standing here right now. What's something like that doing on the headmaster's desk? He takes notice of my presence and slides the folder away into his briefcase.
Greetings. Is there something I can assist you with? Curious about the folder?
Was that obvious? Well, he is standing at a podium. So you had to like walk around behind the podium and then stare at what he was reading over his shoulder in his personal space, probably. So he probably noticed.
I have no secrets to hide from you, MC. But I cannot share classified documents with you or the rest of the class just yet.
So a secret that you must hide.
Wait, what do you call me?
MC.
That's my nickname. I haven't shared that with you yet.
It's part of my job to know everything about you and your classmates.
And I don't have the tact to hide that fact, so I just expose my spying up front. He calculatingly steps towards me and away from the podium.
Your background is intriguing, to say the least, MC. Many people devote their entire lives in hopes to one day be part of this program. Quite naturally, I was rather intrigued when I learned about your, how do I put it, storied history.
You know then, that I'm from...
Don't look too surprised. And yes, I do know where you've lived your whole life prior to this program. That's what makes you so curious to me.
I feel like I'm being examined through a microscope. I couldn't help but be slightly defensive.
Is there a problem with that?
No, not at all. So, I want you to remember this. Those who are selected in this program aren't chosen by nepotism, formal applications, or sheer luck.
Did you not do an application? I was gonna say, like, him knowing about you is pretty normal. I mean, the MC part's weird, but a lot of the other stuff, knowing your background is normal because wouldn't you normally apply to a school and he's the headmaster, so he would just, it just would have been information you voluntarily gave him for the most part.
No. There's a very careful and deliberate process. A committee selects people based on who they believe have potential to be future leaders of good and virtue.
You will be the B-star.
Your situation, however, is an oddity. From an impossible upbringing to a soon-to-be historian.
A historian? At this point, we've said historian and virtue so many times without going any deeper about what either of these things mean that it's getting a little rough. I still have a hard time picturing myself as a historian. I don't even know if historians do history, because given the supposed erasing of history that's apparently constantly happening, I'm like, then what is they? Everyone here must have brought so much good and virtue into the world. But me? I'm not so sure.
You're here for a reason. Don't let anyone, including yourself, tell you otherwise.
We have no concept of what like 3 or 4 of these characters have ever done that was virtuous.
Thank you, Headmaster.
You're very welcome. I look forward to working with you.
He gives a courteous bow before returning to his podium. I'm here for a reason, right? And I guess if you want to find out that reason, you can check out the full version of the current build of the game via the link in the description. Spark Hearts is a safe-for-work, free-to-play game on itch.io, and it's getting future updates like all the games I cover here, which I assume also features the assets itself. Like, they made a point to specify the assets are being updated, so some of the visuals that are in the current build are also temporary, which explains the obvious like sketchiness of those 2 delinquent type characters, but also the variable level of rendered quality of the main cast. As we like spun around that starting table, our main character clearly looks a bit more finished, and so does the headmaster, whereas the other people in the class look a little more sketchy, like they're still being worked on. But yeah, if you want to see where this goes, and after this intro is finally done, go check out the link in the description. Thanks for watching like always, guys, and I'll see you next time. Also, I wanted to point out this website called fvn.li that I'm trying to bring up a little bit more often. It's just a useful way of navigating and browsing this, frankly, massive subgenre of games here. Just all these furry visual novels. There are so many of them. There's 57 pages of them, apparently, according to this, at 9 per page. I'm not doing... Oh, 506... So there's currently an archive of 500 plus furry visual novels. Defaults to being sorted by chronological update, not release, but update. And it's part of how I noticed that Spark Hearts was out, was that it was just released, so it's right here at the top of the page. And that's kind of been how I've been picking some of the games lately. I kind of go back and forth, but sometimes I just try to pick things that have been updated very recently. And in particular, it has these useful features where you can be like, hey, dang, not enough safe for work visual novels anymore. Like, they're all overshadowed by the not safe for work ones. Well, here's 23 pages. In fact, I don't know exactly how this is ranked and quantified exactly, but if we trust this result, it's 200 out of the overall 500, so apparently like 40% of furry visual novels are safe for work, which might surprise people. And you can sort... This is actually where I was doing some of my data gathering via resources available in my most recent video essay type video. I don't really think it's a video essay, it's more of a journal with interviews. It doesn't really have a thesis to argue for the most part, so it's not really a video essay in my brain, but this is where I was like, let's sort and find out word counts. 2 million word count there. There's password. And you can like figure out how long games are on average or how many reviews they have. Which right here, technically the highest rated game is Andromeda 6, but I looked at that and I'm like, I don't know if that counts as a furry visual novel or not, but it is in this list. But that's how I came to the conclusion that Ad Astra is the most reviewed furry visual novel. And then you can see the declining ratings on the way down here. Lookouts is doing great. And it's also got a Steam version. Anyway, we're off topic at this point. But yeah, this is FVN.li, or Furry Visual Novel List, I assume is what that stands for. And it's just a helpful tool. Another helpful tool is to check the link in the description for the playlist where you can see, I don't know, maybe 100 games I've covered since I started doing furry visual novels. I actually don't know what the current total is, but either way, I'll see you guys next time.